My name is Hannah Mitchell, and if there is one thing my family ever truly valued about me, it wasn't my heart, my kindness, or even my achievements, it was my ability to cook. From the time I was 12, when my grandmother first taught me how to make Christmas cookies, I became the household chef. Every holiday, every family gathering, every big occasion, they dumped all the responsibility on me. At first, I didn't mind. I loved cooking. I loved the smiles on people's faces when they tasted something I made with love. But over the years, the joy of it was replaced with resentment, because I realized no one saw me as a daughter, a sister, or even a person to celebrate. I was just the one in the kitchen, slaving away for everyone else's comfort. I remember being 16 and dreaming about my first Christmas where maybe I'd open a present and feel special. Instead, my mother handed me an apron and said, "Get started on the turkey, Hannah, or dinner won't be ready." That was my gift. My father never said thank you. My brother, Alex, would laugh and run off to play video games while I basted meat, chopped vegetables, and served everyone who didn't lift a finger. By the time food was served, I was so exhausted that I barely tasted a bite. But the pattern didn't stop there. It grew stronger with time. As I got older, it became an unspoken rule: holidays equaled Hannah in the kitchen. No matter how hard I worked all year, no matter how much I contributed in other ways, the only role they ever reserved for me was the chef. My mother bragged to neighbors about my cooking, but she never once bragged about my career, my education, or my accomplishments outside of the stove and oven. My father would say, "You know, Hannah, you're lucky you can cook. That's the only thing that'll keep you valuable in life." The sting of those words cut deep, but I swallowed it year after year, hoping one day they'd see me as more. The final breaking point came 2 years ago, the Christmas before everything changed. I had spent 3 straight days preparing for the big family dinner. I worked from dawn until midnight, marinating, baking, peeling, and cleaning. On Christmas Day, when the family gathered, I brought out a beautiful roasted turkey, side dishes, pies, and cookies, all arranged perfectly on the table. I waited, just once, for someone to look me in the eye and say, "Thank you, Hannah. You made this wonderful." But instead, my father clinked his glass and said, "Another great Christmas, thanks to tradition." Tradition, that was me. Not Hannah, not his daughter. Just the family cook. That night, I sat in my room, my hands blistered from hours in the kitchen, and I cried. I wasn't crying because I hated cooking. I was crying because no one cared about me beyond it. They didn't invite me to play games after dinner. They didn't ask me about my life, my job, or my dreams. I was invisible until food appeared. And for the first time in my life, I decided I wouldn't keep letting them use me. The next year, I made a plan. I saved up money and booked a quiet solo holiday trip in advance without telling anyone. I found a cozy cabin in the mountains, a place where snow covered the trees and silence wrapped around you like a warm blanket. No family, no chaos, no demands. Just me, some books, and peace. For the first time in 26 years, I was going to give myself a Christmas gift, the gift of freedom. As December rolled around, my family started their usual chatter. My mom asked, "Hannah, when are you coming over to start prepping?" My dad said, "Make sure you bring enough ingredients this year, last time we almost ran out." Alex, my brother, texted me his Christmas food requests, like I was a restaurant. I smiled quietly to myself and responded vaguely, "I'll let you." No. Inside, my heart raced with anticipation of what was to come. On Christmas Eve, I packed my bags, left a simple note on the kitchen counter, and slipped away before anyone could notice. The note read, "This year, I won't be cooking. Merry Christmas." I drove 3 hours into the mountains, and when I arrived at the cabin, snowflakes danced in the air. I lit a fire, made myself hot chocolate, and sat by the window watching the snowfall. For once, there was no sound of pots clanging, no orders being barked at me, no weight of expectation pressing on my shoulders. Just peace. Just Hannah. Meanwhile, back at home, chaos erupted. My phone started buzzing nonstop, calls from my mother, angry texts from my father, and even a panicked voicemail from Alex, where are you? What are we supposed to eat? We don't know how to cook all this stuff. I didn't answer. I sipped my hot chocolate and listened to the crackle of the fire. Later that night, I got another call. This time, my father's voice was more desperate than angry. Hannah, we need you. Your mother burned the ham, Alex forgot to defrost the turkey, and nothing is ready. The family is here and there's no food. Please come home. For years, I had dreamed of those words, not because I wanted them to fail, but because I wanted them to realize how much I had been carrying all along. But I didn't go back. I turned off my phone, pulled a blanket over myself, and whispered, "This year, Christmas is mine." The next morning, while my family scrambled to salvage their disastrous holiday, I cooked myself a small, simple breakfast in the cabin kitchen. Eggs, toast, and coffee. It wasn't a grand feast, but it was made only for me, enjoyed in silence, without a single demand attached. It was the most delicious meal I'd ever had. When I returned home 2 days later, the house was still in disarray. Leftover burnt ham sat on the counter, unwashed dishes piled high, and my parents looked at me like I had betrayed them. My mother said, "How could you abandon us on Christmas?" My father accused me of being selfish. Alex sulked like a child who didn't get his favorite toy. I looked at them all calmly and said, "I am not your holiday chef. I'm your daughter. I'm your sister. If you can't see me as more than the person who cooks your food, then I don't owe you my holidays anymore." They were stunned into silence. My mother tried to argue, but for once, I didn't back down. I walked into my room, packed a few more bags, and left again, this time for good. I moved into my own apartment, started building a life where I was valued for who I was, not for what I could do in the kitchen. Over time, my family tried to guilt me back. They called on Thanksgiving, Easter, and every Christmas after, begging me to return, promising things would be different. But I never went back. I celebrated with friends who laughed with me, shared meals equally, and never expected me to carry the entire weight of the holiday alone. Eventually, my parents learned to cook for themselves. Alex complained less and started helping in the kitchen because he had no choice. And while they probably still grumbled about how selfish I was, deep down, I know they understood the truth. They had taken me for granted for too long, and they lost the privilege of my presence. As for me, I discovered a new kind of joy, one that came not from feeding everyone else while I starved emotionally, but from feeding my own soul. My holidays became brighter, lighter, and filled with love, the kind of love my family never gave me. And that was the greatest gift I could ever give myself. I was no longer the holiday chef. I was Hannah Mitchell, a woman who chose freedom over obligation, self-worth over sacrifice, and peace over chaos. And from that Christmas forward, I never looked back.